Gwen Cooper is the author of Homer's Odyssey, a special book about Gwen, a really special cat. Probably you've heard that introduction 100 times.
No, actually, not quite that way. So I thank you very much.
Really, a special cat. How did you know this cat was special? Okay, you meet a kitten.
Yes.
That's happened to so many of us so many times. And then the attachment sort of happens or doesn't. How did it happen for you?
Well, Homer's been blind his entire life. He was blind as a kitten. So part of that already set him apart, certainly, from other cats. And at the point at which I met him, he had been passed over for adoption by hundreds of people.
But are you automatically one of those folks where if you hear the cat or dog has a handicap, I want that animal?
No, I am certainly a sucker. But Homer is actually the first special needs pet probably that I'd ever met
So what
or
was
heard
it?
of.
What was it? Was it the timing and stuff was going on in your life?
Yeah, it was. Well, it was a combination of things. My vet was the one who called me, sort of as a last resort, to come down and meet Homer
So you knew it was either you
or the shelter.
yeah.
I was at a very tough juncture in my life at that point. I had just broken up with my fiance. I was staying in a friend's spare bedroom with the two cats I already had. I was working nonprofit, which was wonderful work, but paid nothing, and so I was pretty broke. And of course, I was 24 and very consumed with self-pity. No one in the world had ever had it as rough as I did right then, homeless and poor and bereft. And I went down to meet this kitten who was 3 weeks old and blind and had been rescued from the streets where he was starving and abandoned. And he was happy and he was friendly and he was anxious to meet new people, or eager, I should say. There was no anxiety. There was no fear. There was no sadness. There was none of that. And this kitten, whose own life was so much worse than mine, was just happy and in a great mood and wanted to meet people. And it's going to sound crazy, but in that moment, I wanted to be as good a person as he was, even though obviously he was a cat. And I really think that was the moment, not out of the pity for a blind kitten who no one else was going to rescue, but more this feeling of that I had just been sent the role model that I needed at that particular moment in my life.
And then what happens is you take this kitten home and you watch, and you know what? This kitten is just really like any other kitten, except you use all the adjectives throughout the book, and brave is one of them. So here this kitten that can't see a thing leaps off the bed
Yes.
the first time and leaps. I mean, this kitten doesn't know if it's the Grand Canyon.
No, that is...
Yeah.
I think to a certain extent, it's funny. What I heard when I first adopted him was that I should expect him to be more timid than other cats, which certainly seemed to make sense. But I think for Homer, because he can't see, he doesn't know that there is anything to be afraid of, so he isn't. It's like my husband always says in the Daredevil comics, occasionally Daredevil gets his sight back and still has his superpowers, but then is afraid to do all the stuff he does when he's blind because he can see how high up he is.
Interesting.
And I think for Homer, he jumps off of things that are 7 or 8 feet high. It is insane. I mean, he climbs up there in the first place. I think almost because he's blind, his whole life is taking blind leaps. And he was either going to be the kind of cat who never did anything or who sort of fearlessly did everything. And he obviously has elected to be the latter.
It's truly, Gwen, an inspirational book on lots of different levels. My last question is, what can we learn from animals like Homer?
I think that at one point I say that the main thing that I learned from Homer is that nobody else can tell you what your potential is. There was so much that Homer was never supposed to be able to do, that he was never even down to he was never supposed to be alive, and he wasn't supposed to be happy, much less to have done as much as he's done or have to have lived as extraordinary a life as he's lived. There's a lot of adventure in the book, by the way, so I'm not just talking about, he's blind and he manages to get around. He's done some amazing, amazing things. And truly, nobody else can tell you what your potential is. That is really the thing that I learned from Homer from these 12 years.
You know what? Homer doesn't need 9 lives. This one's kind of really cool.
I think this one has sort of become his 9
lives.
It's as packed as 9 lives could possibly be.
The name of the book is called Homer's Odyssey. Gwen Cooper, thank you so much.
Thank you.